Hello and welcome to the first ever National Outdoor PodShow. Step into our cozy campsite as over the next 6 weeks we bring you exclusive content from the National Outdoor Expo. Each episode will have a specific theme, and this week we're kicking off with adventure. Alongside a featured interview with a star-studded guest, there will be advice, inspiration, kit, tech and loads of laughter. My name's Dom, and alongside the main host we will be guiding you through the National Outdoor PodShow. Coming up on this adventure-themed episode, Aldo Kane talks Mike through some of his incredible experiences. In the kit section, we hear from ThruDark. In the tech section, it's all about tracking with GTC. The bucket list company let us know what they're all about in the EXCURSION segment. And finally, we head back to ThruDark in the advice segment. But now it's time for me to pass over to the three amazing hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to the National Outdoor PodShow. This is something that we've launched off the back of the National Outdoor Expo, and it's our way of talking to you and letting you extend the life of the show. So if you did come to the show and there were things that you missed, then hopefully you can catch up on them here. Or if you didn't make it, there'll be some stuff for you to watch as well. So there'll be loads of sections, inspirational interviews, loads of advice and some kit and some tech that we're going to review. Now, because I'm not an awesome adventurer, I've got two really cool people here with me to help interview our guests and talk about some of the subjects. So the first is Elise Downing. Elise, say hello to everybody. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, I'm Elise. I've been on one big adventure that I'm still talking about 8 years later when I ran around the coast of Britain. So excited to talk about some other people's adventures today.
Amazing. And we will come into your adventure a little bit for this episode. And we have Tanuke Oyederan.
Yeah.
And Tanuke, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a massive adventurer. I love being outside. I've just came off a TV show called Survivor, which was pretty insane. All outside, obviously. And yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Happy to be here.
I think we're going to start with that, because given the title of this is about adventure, this episode, Survivor. I mean, that's pretty cool. Was it awful?
Actually, it wasn't awful. I obviously loved it. There was tarantulas. So there was tarantulas. So if you don't know anything about the show, you basically get deserted on a island, and you have to do challenges and sort of social manipulation to get your way further in the game. And on the island, there were snakes in the shelter that we built. In the middle of the night, you'd have snakes growing over your legs. And I got into it, but that was initially the first thing that really got to me. And there was obviously in the middle of the night, we don't have any lights or anything like that. So in the middle of the night, you just don't go to the loo because
I just
Where is the island?
Tarantulas. It was in Dominican Republic. Okay. And it was literally in the jungle.
Oh my
gosh. There was so many tarantulas. There was this really big mean one that lived right near the camp as well.
I loved your initial caveat that it was all outside. I'd love if it was indoor Survivor.
Yeah. No. Indoor tarantulas and snakes.
Tarantulas, yeah.
So
everything.
What was the biggest adventure within that? So what was the biggest task that you did?
So they were all sort of physical activities, lots of assault courses, that was really fun. And lots of assault courses that were swimming ones, out on the water as well. So you had to dive down, collect a key, swim back, all of that kind of stuff. And I think the biggest adventure of that was the entire thing. Even going on the show in the first place.
Did you get any training?
Wild. We did get a little bit of survival training. Luckily, I had done lots of survival stuff before, so I was comfortable with that side. But yeah, there was lots of people who didn't know anything about survival stuff. It was big issue was the sand, the sand for people as well.
And you said social manipulation as well. So do you
yeah,
have to push people over in the obstacle course and stuff? Is there?
No. It's basically you vote each other out, so you have to be liked by everyone. But you can't look like you're about to win. Otherwise, people will vote you out because you're going to win. Yeah.
So you want second or third place in everything.
Yeah, it's a really tough way to figure out social game.
Did you get on with everybody?
Yeah. No.
And are we allowed to reveal how you did?
Yeah. I did really well, but I got voted out really horrifically, backstabbed so badly by someone who I thought was a friend who wasn't in the end.
Oh no.
Well, I did well, but I think I was doing too well, I think. That was the issue.
You didn't stay in
firm
third
middle.
place.
I didn't keep a low profile.
No.
So that's a pretty awesome adventure, actually. I think we could do a whole episode interviewing you. And Elise, I mean, obviously you've done an adventure. You like to talk about it a lot. Tell us about what you did.
Yeah, so I set off on November the 1st, 2015, so a few years ago now, and ran around the coast of Britain. So self-supported, I had my kit on my back, although I ended up staying with like hundreds of strangers in the end, which was an amazing part of it. But before I set off, I think people think I'm like lying about my athletic abilities. I honestly was not a good runner. I couldn't read a map. I'd never done anything like that before.
That's so brave.
I was absolutely hopeless, to be honest. But just about made it round in one piece.
I think it's insane to think what you did, and just talk us through the stats on that. So the mileage, what's the distance that you covered?
Yeah, so it was about 5,000 miles in total, and it took bang on 10 months in the end. So average about 17 miles a day. But I started a lot less mileage. Like my mileage at the beginning was really low, and I just remember thinking, I'm running like 10k a day, and people do that before work, and I've quit my job and told the whole world that I'm going on this big adventure, and I just felt like a massive fraud for the first 6 months.
But actually, if you think about that back-to-back repetition of mileage and the fact that it's scaled up, and you had very low base training before that,
yeah,
I think
incredible.
What I love about your story and you is that it's such a normal story that suddenly turned into this nuts adventure. And I think that's kind of the purpose of this pod show, really, is to show people that anyone can go and do it. And Tanuke, would you say from your side, because you didn't grow up an adventurer, you grew up a performer, right?
Yeah, I grew up as a performer and proper inner city London babe kind of vibes.
Yeah.
Didn't normally go outside very much, like being in London. I think what got it for me, I'm a roller skater, professional roller skater, and that took me traveling quite a lot. And I got to see the world, got to get a taste for adventure. And then since then, it's just been my beeline for what makes me happy, really.
And if either of you had spoken to yourself at 10 years old, would you believe that either of you were going out there and adventuring like you are today?
No, and I wouldn't have wanted to either. I think we think you have to have grown up doing things, and but if you told me that I had to go for a run when I was 10, I would have been absolutely not. That sounds
Can't
awful.
stop you doing it now. You're out every blooming weekend.
But I think there is I think that whenever someone says that I seem quite normal, I'm I take that as such a big compliment, because I kind of hate it when you listen to adventure stories and it's just people telling you how brave and adventurous they are, because I don't think that I don't find that motivating. So I'm I'm not brave. I'm scared of everything. And it's you can do things and still be scared.
Yeah, but she's scared of cows. Yeah, literally. And added probably another 100 miles onto her journey just by avoiding fields with cows
and sheep.
Fair enough.
And Tanuke, the same question to you. As a kid, if you'd have thought that, would you think where you're on now?
I mean, I actually thought about this the other day, and I remembered when I was a kid, I did go on a camping trip or a camper van trip, and I hosted the whole thing as an adventure presenter. I think I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And I was like, today we're in the Lake District and we're it's so embarrassing. But I remembered it, and I remembered always wanting to be an adventurer. Even as a kid. So, and then I got waylaid with roller skating and glitter and all that shiny stuff. But I feel it's coming home, me coming back to adventure.
Nice. So you were always meant to do this, I think. So
yeah, and that was just me going around, the local park.
That's such a funny premonition.
It was
such a weird mirror of literally what you're doing.
I know. It's full circle.
Wow.
Days.
And my dad was dragging me up mountains, and I was complaining every single step of the way. Now I'm dragging him up them.
Well, now look at you both. Right, so as you can see, we have some awesome hosts here with us. They are going to help me do the interviewing. Myself and Dom will be talking to a number of the guests throughout the show. So hopefully you enjoy it. Stick with us for the next bits. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Yonda, who are giving away the Ultimate Swim Bundle. And if you go to the notes in the show notes, you'll be able to find out how to win that competition. On to the next interview, which is with Aldo Kane.
Find out how someone becomes an extreme adventurer and why they would want to row for 55 days straight.
Hi guys, for today's big interview, I'm here with Aldo Kane. I was trying to describe Aldo, and I was trying to think he's the Swiss Army knife of adventure because he's done so many different cool things. Is that the worst intro you've ever had?
No, that's good. That's actually what Alex Honnold described me as.
Oh, is it really?
On Arctic Ascent.
Well,
I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to be considered in the same league as him, but given I've barely been up one climbing wall, I don't think I am. Anyway, for people who don't know who you are, you've done so many different things. You're an adventurer, you're an explorer, you're an ex-commando, you've done stuff around films. I mean, how do you describe yourself?
I basically look after people in extreme environments. That's what I do. I run a company which provides safety, logistics, guidance to television and film productions working in extreme, remote, hostile locations. Yep. So if you want to go to the deepest cave in the world and film it, or you want to film stunts somewhere, or you want to climb a big wall, or you want to film undercover with illegal wildlife traders and narcos, then it's me who usually, or people like me that basically do the risk assessments without it sounding boring, but then I'm on the ground. You know, I'm the guy in the volcano, I'm the guy in the cave, I'm the guy making it happen.
That's insane. I mean, how do you start out in that? Like, I don't imagine. I imagine there's pretty high failure rate.
It seems to be a job that everyone wants to do, but not many people understand the intricacies of it. And it's essentially about providing service to other people. You know, I've never done what I do in expeditions for recognition or for fame or for glory or anything else other than I love being in the outdoors. I grew up from scouts, you know, Beavers Cub Scouts all the way through until I joined the military. So essentially what I've done is I've created a niche in the outdoor expedition space where I can provide service based on my skills and my background. So ex-military, ex-commando, and then lots of safety stuff offshore, oil and gas industry, and then into expeditions.
And they're really cool expeditions. So actually, I kind of like that because it's about you helping other people rather than jumping out there and being the first to do something. Is it as cool as it sounds, or is it quite a lot of logistics and planning?
Every single expedition, to put it into context, takes a long time to do the planning, and it's usually, in my field, it's usually production companies, and they'll spend, so for example, Arctic Ascent, which is out on Disney and Nat Geo.
So yeah, just a plug for that. So that's the film you've done with Alex Honnold, or is it a series?
Yeah, it's a series, a mini-series called Arctic Ascent with Alex Honnold. It's already been out in Nat Geo in the UK, but it'll be out on Disney sometime later this year, 3 parts.
So what is it? Tell us what you guys do.
It's epic. Alex Honnold, Hazel Finley, Mikey Schaefer, myself, Heidi Sylvester is a glaciologist, and Adam, can't pronounce his second name because it's Greenlandic. He knows that I can't pronounce it. But there's 6 of us, and effectively what we do is we spend 2 months traveling across eastern Greenland, but we're not just on expedition, we're doing first ascents, so we're climbing big walls. We're spending 7, 8, 9, 10 days putting new routes on big remote walls, but we're also doing science as we go. We're collecting core samples, we're collecting temperature data, so it's really expedition with a purpose now is the sort of catchphrase, but essentially we are having an epic adventure in Greenland and collecting data for various different universities and and organizations that require that data.
So Greenland's like brutal and beautiful and but vast and pretty not very populated, right? So are you long times on your own?
Yeah, it's probably one of the most remote locations on Earth. Just if you think about, I always think from a safety point of view, if something happens to someone, how long is the CASEVAC or the casualty evacuation back out of there? And it's days to a week or something like that, depending on where you are. You know, if we're on final pitches of the big wall, we have to come all the way back down. We have to then spend potentially 24 hours coming down the fjord to get back to the local airstrip. Then we have to heli from there to a fixed wing place and then back out to Iceland. So
don't mess up, basically.
Yeah, it's you know, there's few places on Earth where the safety briefers do not get injured, and that's one of them.
Jeez. So did anything troublesome happen? I'm sure you were very safe and you kept everybody safe, but what was the scariest bit? There must have been something hairy.
Yeah, we did quite a lot of cool things on it, actually. Abseiling into a Mulan, so a big push on the series was about climate change.
So what's a Mulan for people?
So basically it's about climate change and adventure and how they work together. And a Mulan is, you have a glacier, and on top of the glacier you have runoff water. So when the sun's shining, it melts some water. So you end up with these rivers on top of the glacier. The river then finds a small hole or a crack, and it burrows like corkscrews down, and it essentially drills a hole in the glacier.
That's cool.
And that's called a moulin. Obviously French, that means windmill, but essentially what you end up with is a huge hole in the middle of a glacier which can go down hundreds of meters. So you have moving water, moving ice. It's dark, and there's not much redundancy if something goes wrong. So it's pretty full on.
And the water's still coming through at the same time. So
yeah. So if you imagine on top of a glacier, a big hole with white water, a river coming down, then it just goes down. It's like a plug hole. And then you abseil down inside that. And we were collecting data from inside there. That was pretty full on hairy.
That sounds freaky. I'm not sure how I would cope with that. But and anything else on that trip that stands out for you?
It was just an exceptionally good trip in that being able to climb with some of the best climbers in the world. Hazel Finley is undoubtedly one of the best climbers in the world, and Alex obviously, and Mikey Schaefer. So for me, it's a real privilege to be on a big wall. One, with those guys, because they can get you there. And two, it's just an area of the world that hardly anyone has ever been, and no one has ever attempted to climb the walls. So, I'm following them fairly quickly behind and hauling all the gear up and doing all the grunt work.
So I was going to talk about that, because is that like added pressure for you? Because obviously they're the stars, but actually in many ways because you're pushing them into that position, but you're actually doing a lot of the hard work, you're doing a lot of the hard graft behind the scenes, and if something goes wrong, it's on you. So mentally, is that tough?
It can be. I'm used to it. I've been running these types of expeditions for high-risk, high-consequence expeditions for about 15 years, so I'm kind of used to that. But actually, the majority of this stuff happens in the planning phase. You might spend a year planning, researching, getting everything right, so that when you go on the ground, and we know that things rarely go to plan, but when you've done that amount of research and planning, then when things do go wrong, you can pivot immediately without it sort of grinding everything to a shuddering stop.
Amazing. So, and you've got another series that you wanted to talk about as well. So what's that?
So we finished filming Ocean Explorers, which is a big ocean exploration series.
And are you experienced underwater as well? Have you done that before?
So I'm a technical diver, rebreather diver. Essentially, a jack of all trades. I'm
a Swiss Army knife, some might say.
I'm not particularly good at any one thing other than people skills. That's why I get asked back. It's not because I can carry the most weight or I can, I'm the most technically advanced in rope work or diving. It's because making things work. Expeditions are about teamwork. Expeditions, before anything technical, are about people and how people interact, and the wrong people on an expedition can critically undermine it.
So I want to come back to that in a minute, but let's stay with the underwater adventure first, because I think the people thing is really interesting. But so the series is underwater. What are you?
So I'm the expedition leader basically on this series. So it's James Cameron and the BBC team made it, and it's for National Geographic. So
he's quite notoriously tough, James Cameron. Did you find it a struggle, or was it?
No, it's been. You can't say too much about it because it's not out yet. But it's it's the top ranking team across the board in that genre of not just television making but science. Where they're doing real time, genuine oceanography, sort of science-based, science-based research, and some of the stuff we were finding on it was just amazing. But people will have to wait.
Right, so we can't talk too much. That's coming soon, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And then in terms of expeditions, and obviously you're thrust into these situations with lots of different people who are pulled together to do something extreme, and people in extreme situations tend to break and not necessarily be as calm and as they might be. Without throwing anyone under the bus and mentioning any names, have you ever had any situations where it's just not working and you've had to step in, and what do you do?
Yeah, it happens a lot. So the first thing that happens on expedition is that people are sleep deprived.
Yeah.
We know that from research, having 4 or 5 hours sleep in an evening puts you in the same bracket as having 3 or 4 pints when it comes to driving and decision making.
That explains a lot of my behaviour, because that's about my usual sleep pattern.
Yeah. So like lack of sleep is number one. Expeditions are predominantly about lack of sleep, lots of hard physical effort, dehydration, and usually some level of cognitive stress, whether that's self-induced, whether that comes from the environment, whether that comes from the situation as it's unfolding. If you look at what causes stress in a person, it might be the new environment. It might be the fact that you feel that you can't actually keep up with the rest of the people on your team, or that things are changing faster than you can implement, protocols to keep that in check. Yeah. So the first thing that I realize is if I see someone else being stressed or doing something that's irrational, then my immediate thought is who's next. So it's not like pointing the finger at them.
Okay.
So it's the same, if someone is struggling and they are starting to show signs of hypothermia, for example, they are the first person. You can guarantee there'll be more people that will suffer from that. So my first point of call in anything when a situation like that unfolds is who else is in this boat, and there's usually everyone is there or thereabouts.
Gotcha.
And the second thing about expeditions is that everyone has up days and everyone has down days.
We'll be back with the second part of Aldo's interview in just a while, but now it's time for some kit talk.
Welcome back to the kit section of this pod show, and I'm joined here by ThruDark. Please just fill me in a little bit about who you are, what you guys do, and everything in between.
So, ThruDark, I guess that we started probably about 7 years ago. Myself and Staz, the two co-founders, former special forces operators. So I guess we spent a long time in the military. 7 or 8 of those years were actually in special forces, special boat service. And we had the idea when we were coming to the end of our careers that we were going to start an outdoor clothing brand. So I guess the idea comes from having all the best kit and equipment you could possibly get thrown at you. I mean, the biggest budgets in the military are all thrown at the special forces operators. So you have all the best kit, and I guess that even though we were still using that kit, we still found fault with it, or areas where we thought, we can really improve how this can work, quite naively actually. So I guess that it was hard work to get up and running and kind of punch into an outdoor industry, which is, you're surrounded by huge brands that have been around massively. For like half a century, decades, and have so much experience in the industry. But yeah, we've done a pretty remarkable job, so we're doing pretty well.
Amazing. Yeah, I was just loving your stand, how busy you guys are. It looks pretty epic out there.
Yeah, I think we've got a little bit of a kind of different look and feel as well. It's like quite dark, it's quite moody, it's quite edgy. Yeah. So I think that kind of resonates with people, and I think it's been really important for us. Like when we first started the brand, I didn't want it just to be a clothing brand, right? It's in its simplest form. It doesn't do anything else other than you're selling clothing, and which obviously means people are safe and you're capable of doing things in the outdoors. But it needed to have more heart and soul. And I think what we've got is our mantra is endeavour through adversity. And you can see that in the way that we do the content pieces and everything else. So it's like the motivation, aspiration, inspiration that you can get into the people. And I've seen it here today. It's like our cult following.
Yeah, man, totally.
Wow, it's like the people that travel from far and wide just to come and see the brand and speak to people like myself and the other ambassadors that we've got on board. And we've got some really cool ambassadors as part of the brand, so it's awesome.
Incredible. And what's your favourite bit of kit then?
So too many. I guess that I've had a personal touch, especially from the early days, is like me sketching Louis Age 3 because that's what we had to do. So like some of the earlier products that we've released, One of them's a scout smock, actually. It's a winter outdoor jacket, and kind of inspired from some of the military kit we used to use. So it's got like a Polartec fleece inner, but it's also got a 3-layer waterproof outer, and it's real all-round jacket. So it's like, it's hooded, it looks quite moody. It's just like quite a sexy jacket.
Love that.
Yeah, the scout jacket.
Amazing. Have you got it here today as well?
In fact, we haven't. That's terrible. We haven't, and we should have. But yeah, it's as we do with everything. Actually, I guess that probably the reason why we didn't bring it here today is because it's ongoing upgrades.
Okay.
So it's like another motto of ours, which has been brought from the Special Forces, is relentless pursuit of excellence. And every single bit of kit is constantly undergoing and testing. It's like, and what's quite important for us as well is we're the ones testing the gear. So myself and the other co-founder, we're the spearhead going, right, as soon as the new sample comes in, we're the ones taking it out. Yeah. And if it's abseiling, if it's like throwing it out of a plane, skydiving, whatever that is, we're the ones doing the testing.
Oh, amazing. Incredible. Well, it's been amazing hearing the story, and I will come out and see you guys if I can get a chance to talk to you out there.
Please do.
It's so busy. Thank you so much for coming in. Moving on to the next segment of the pod show.
In this week's tech segment, GTC tell us about a piece of equipment that might just save your life.
Hey, I'm here today with James from GTC, and we're going to be having a bit of a chat about tech and adventure and kind of how they go together. So, James, could you just tell us a bit, like, what is GTC? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. So we supply a variety of satellite communication devices. So we've got personal locator beacons, all with kind of SOS functionality. So basically anything, anywhere you go, where you don't have a mobile phone signal, you can use one of our devices to keep in touch with friends and family via text messaging or preset messages.
So how does that work? Like, what's the technology behind that?
We offer Garmin devices. We offer a variety of different devices, but the Garmin is a very popular one. Yeah. Basically, it's just a small handheld device, and you can simply pair it with your phone and use like an app to send the messages, but it's all routing through satellite. So it's very quick, it's very responsive. It's not really too different to using something like WhatsApp if you're doing messaging, but very easy to set up as well. So they're not too scary or complicated to out of the box to get going.
So can you use those? Would they work literally anywhere?
Yeah, literally anywhere in the world. So satellite devices, you normally need a clear line of sight to the sky to obviously see the satellite so it can communicate. So sometimes in like woodland or, for example, a heavy tree cover, they can be affected. But as long as you're outside, it tends to go through very quickly, like a message, just like a WhatsApp message, really.
So for your kind of average person who's going outside, they're maybe doing a bit of walking, cycling, whatever it might be, like how would you recommend, like, when do you think is this device kind of more useful than just having your mobile with you?
It really depends on the use case. I think today, speaking to customers, we've had a lot of customers that now want something as a backup just in case. They don't necessarily want to track where they're going or anything, but they want an emergency device where if they fall over and hurt themselves, and they know that they're going to come and get rescued rather than relying on your phone, which can go dead. Like my iPhone goes dead in like 2 seconds.
As soon as it gets cold, isn't it? Like it's a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
Battery's gone. I'm always like trying to warm it back up.
Exactly. So all of these are standalone devices. So whilst you can pair it with your phone, they're not reliant on your phone, which is the key thing. And again, like I say, we've had a lot of people today say that they want that peace of mind, really. It's not necessarily something that you have to use all the time, but you've got it if you do fall down. Or had someone today talking about they were on a mountain last week and the cloud came in really quickly and they literally couldn't see anything and their phone was dead and they were literally like, what are we going to do? But in that scenario, obviously you've got a device, you can then send out a message saying that you need help. They know, they can see your location where you are, and if you are stuck, then you can get rescued straight away, really.
So does that kind of update, you said like people can see your location, so does that update sort of live to like a map or something?
Yeah, so you can have like a public website basically, so you get given a link. They can track on different intervals, but 5 or 10 minutes it will send out a position just so someone can follow your route. Anyone can see that, or anyone you share it with can see that. Again, you don't have to use that feature, but it's there if you need it, and the two-way messaging communication as well is obviously a good option to have.
Sounds like a lot of like peace of mind. Like before I go anywhere, I have to text my dad like a link to my route that I'm doing, and like the get worried time, like if I'm not back by 4 o'clock. But it sounds like another sort of layer to that, almost definitely. Like live, because obviously within that if I did go missing, there's often quite a long area he might be trying to alert some emergency services.
Yeah, exactly. And these devices are like accurate to almost 2 meters, so you know,
amazing!
If
Like
you do
really
send it out,
accurate.
you're not having to worry about that. And we have a lot of customers that use them as like a check-in device as well. So like lone workers or forestry workers use them as well. So rather than having to go back and get a phone signal, they can just literally send out a message saying, I'm running late, or, you know, I'm finished a job, I'm going to leave early or something, just so they don't have to, you know, waste time and money and resources, like going back and finding a phone signal, because you don't need to rely on it really.
Oh, that's really useful, because I've definitely done, like, I was hiking in Scotland by myself last summer, and I'd like finished the route, I was absolutely fine, but I was staying in my van, and the spot I was in just didn't have any signal, and I had to drive like quite a long way, because I said, I'm going to text you at this time, and then it was like,
exactly.
I better go find some phone signal then.
Exactly. So again, that just eliminates that whole need for it. So they can be used in like a variety of aspects or a variety of use cases, or like an emergency only, or if you want to share your route, then you can. Some of them, they record your route as well. So if it's called like a track back feature, so you can actually see it on the device where you've started and where you currently are, and if you need to navigate back to that start point.
Oh, so you can use it for navigation as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really handy. What kind of size, like what's the device like in itself?
So the ones that we're selling on the stands today are called Garmin InReach range. So there's a mini, which is, clues in the name, it's tiny. So it's literally about the size of like a matchbox, half size of matchbox. They go up in size, but then they have extra features, like you can put some mapping cards into them, like Garmin mapping cards, and extra functionality, but they all have that satellite capability. So you don't have to rely on the mobile phones. And we've got other devices, one called a Spot Gen 4, which again is the size of a matchbox, but again, they're really easy just to attach to your rucksack. You can kind of just forget they're even there. You're not going to notice it. They're not heavy at all. That's one thing we've had feedback from today. People pick it up and they're like, oh, you can't even notice it. So that's obviously a key thing. Weight is always important for people if they're walking around. They don't want to carry extra weight for no reason.
Yeah, and especially I do quite a lot of trail running, and you've obviously got your pack, and you're trying to fit everything in there. You don't want another huge device in there.
No, definitely not. And a lot of people today have come to the stand. Have got Garmin watches, and you can actually pair your watch with these devices, so you can control it like trigger an SOS or change the tracking interval or send a preset message from your watch as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you did have it attached, if you did have it attached to your rucksack, it's just an easy way to use the device as almost like a beacon, connected to it. So.
And do you find do you have a real range of customers in terms of what people are taking them out to do, what activities and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, as a company, we deal with like a wide variety of different customers, from people just using them as a walking or a hike expedition, private security companies, lone workers. It's a lot of different people use them, again, because I think they say like 98% of the UK is covered by cell signal or something, which you take with a pinch of salt, because I think on the journey up here yesterday I barely had any cell signal at all, and that was for a 3-hour drive. So I think that, again, that's the peace of mind, knowing you've got something that doesn't matter whether you've got a mobile phone signal or not, it's going to be able to communicate with others.
And also I feel like because you do get signal in a lot of places now, then when I don't have it, it catches me out more, because I feel like it's just getting better. You're in quite surprising places and you've got some, but then you just expect to have it. So then when you don't have it, and you're like, oh no, exactly. What do I do now?
Yeah, that's the thing. People are so reliant, including myself, on your mobile phone. It does everything. Like, you expect it to work all the time, but there is obviously times where you really do need it and it's not working. So,
and even like I was out in Snowdonia last year, and my phone just literally fell out of my pocket on this giant scree slope, and I just remember looking at it tumbling down and just being like, oh no. And luckily it was like a route I know quite well, so it was like fine, I could get down, but I just thought,
that's the thing.
What do I do now?
No, definitely. And I think again today, speaking to people, it's definitely about sort of the education side of things, of why you would need it. Again, it's not necessarily something you would need to use all the time, but as that like example you just gave, like if your phone broke or battery went dead or whatever, then you've got a backup.
I think it's just option. That peace of mind, isn't it,
exactly.
for people? Like, I think, like, why you've always got the emergency bivvy in your bag, like, it's just another kind of part of that. Things you hope you won't really need.
Yeah, exactly. I think
really
that's
handy.
it. And I think a lot of people kind of get that now, and some people are put off by the prices sometimes, but they start from around the £150, £200 mark, so they're not extortionate. You do need a subscription on most of them. But again, it's like a rolling 30-day contract. You can suspend it afterwards. You're not tied in for long-term contracts. And again, they start from like £15 a month, so it's not too bad.
And for the peace of mind, I think for a lot of people that would be kind of really a price worth paying just to know that.
Yeah, that's you value your life at £150.
Yeah. So if people are kind of interested in a product like this, how do they find you?
So you go onto our website, which is gtc.co.uk. So we're predominantly kind of e-commerce online. Always happy to obviously speak to people on the phone or catch up and have I like to see and feel stuff and use it to see whether it's any good. So we're always open to seeing customers and but yeah, if they're looking to purchase, and go onto our website, and we've got all the products on there, all my videos and how they work and things. So yeah, a lot of information there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for joining us, James. If you're looking for a bit of an extra safety blanket on your adventures, then check out GTC.
What a great bit of tech for someone who, like me, gets lost quite a lot. Now let's head back for some more chat with Aldo Kane.
I rode across the Atlantic from Portugal to Venezuela a few years ago.
Wait, hang on. Just a casual row? Yeah, okay, we'll come on to that. But sorry, go.
And on that, we all were super experienced, sort of inverted commas, athletes, and able to deal with, adversity and challenge. And all of us suffered from mild anxiety at points, mild depression at points, and like irrationality, like not being able to make decisions. And all of it comes down to you're just knackered. So I guess, like, to answer your question, if people aren't getting on an expedition, it's usually coming down to like compounding factors, which if you start, communication's a big one.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just sit and let things happen for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then eventually snap. Communication every night. When we're on shooting, filming trips, we will do a production meeting every night where we say, this didn't work. That when you're changing batteries, when we are doing this thing, then that doesn't work because we are in danger for longer, or blah, blah, blah. So you do this like big, post-expedition report sort of thing every night,
and it's kind of taking a big problem and making it into lots of little, like you say, about water and sleep. Okay.
And everything's compounded, and then everything's put under the microscope because everyone's tired and hungry and wet and cold.
And it's good to see that it even happens to you. You said it happened to you with the row, and it's, I think everybody's human and everybody has up days and down days. I think that's quite important. You're not really human, though, because of all this crazy stuff you've done. So you touched on the row. Do you want to just give us some key stats on that?
We myself and Foxy, who was here yesterday, and a couple of other guys, we rowed in a rowing boat from Lagos in Portugal to Venezuela. So it was the first time anyone had rowed from mainland Europe to mainland South America, and that's in the...
It's a stupid idea.
Yeah. So we're the first team to row from mainland Europe to mainland South America.
How long did it take?
50 days, 10 hours and 36 seconds.
God.
Or minutes. Yeah, and maybe a few seconds, I'm not sure.
And how many of you are on the boat?
There's 5, but only 2 can row at any one point.
So the others are sleeping in some sort of makeshift tent?
No, it's like... it's an ocean rowing boat, so you have these 2 little cabins in the end where you can sleep in, but I mean, they're not by any stretch of the imagination comfortable. and that, though, the row, when I look at it, it's 2 months nearly of living the ethos that I try and, 1, portray, but 2, live in my day-to-day life and, in my expeditions, is that, it's really difficult. You're doing it, you're voluntarily putting yourself in a difficult situation, which then makes other things in life seem fairly easy after that. I guess it's the whole do hard things thing.
Do you find that's difficult to keep chasing because you've done so much cool stuff? Like, where do you go?
I don't know. Like, I'm 46 now, and I've spent the last 30 years. I joined the Marines when I was 16, so 30 years this year in September, chasing adventure and chasing these things. And actually, I find I naturally gravitate to something else which is challenging. I've got a toddler now and another one on the way. And that, just going back to simple car camping or in the van, we've got a transporter. Just going back to that with a toddler, the unknown complexities of a toddler brain.
So this must mess with you, right? Because you're the king of planning, you prepare for all of this. And I think this is quite relevant to our audience because obviously what you do is super inspiring, but you're a family man and kids are unpredictable,
Yeah.
and you want to still have adventures. Do you bring adventure into the family life as well?
100%. I've been super sort of proactive in doing that from the start. We took Atlas out when he was 3 or 4 months camping.
Nice.
And in the van. And then when he was about 9 or 10 months, we did a big road trip. That was a test. And then he was around about a year, I think. We did a big road trip up the west coast of America for 5-6 weeks. And that was really a test, like motorhome RVing sort of thing. But we took him to Nepal, did a load of trails in Nepal when he was like 1.5. And we've done a load of walking holidays in Crete with him.
Which is amazing, and he's a little legend, and we've met him already just now. But has it gone wrong?
No, I think what has gone wrong is me having to recalibrate to what it's like to be with a toddler who, one, is complex and has their own agenda most of the time. But it's like thermal regulation. They keeping them warm, keeping them cool. Hydration, food, fluids, and then just basics like going out and forgetting, the change of clothing, and they end up with like a poon army all inside the Osprey carrier. I've got nothing to clean them up with, and it.
So that is a relief to me and to everybody else watching that even you forget the spare change
the
of clothes.
basics. But I tell you, it has opened up a whole. We just listened to Leo doing his talk about.
So that's Leo Holding, who's like an incredible adventure climber.
Yeah, and he's just done his talk about his kids and the adventures they've been going on, which is absolutely inspirational. But we've been trying to do as much as we can. I bought the mountain bike Kids Ride Shotgun, I think is the brand. It's like a seat up front on the mountain bike.
Oh, I've seen it, yeah.
And he's got his little handlebars, and I've got mine so that he can't play with my gears and
he can
and
see,
brakes.
and you can see.
He can see. So I was all the way through the winter. I'd pick him up probably once a week after nursery at like 4ish, and then we'd ride the trails in Bristol at night riding. So we'd both have head torches on, and we'd have the night riding. Have the lights on the bikes and doing that. And that's just like it's an hour and a half before dinner after nursery when it's dark, when most people just come home and look back down the hatches. So it just takes a bit more. For me, it's a bit more planning and a bit more getting used to it. But it's I think it's important. I was brought up that way. My mum and dad had 5 of us under 5.
5 of you under 5,
and we still.
The only way of parenting is just throw you outside and lock the door.
and we still managed to go away in a camper and do that sort of stuff. And that's what the life I want to have for Atlas and whoever the next one is.
Because you're a twin as well, so are all 5 of you still really close? Do you all adventure?
Yep. I was camping with my sister last weekend. Like
Nice.
We're out under canvas. I'm under canvas. I say under canvas, but I'm camping out with work probably 130, 140 nights a year, and then there's quite a lot of the rest of the year where myself and Anna and Atlas are out camping as well. Do
you find the switch hard when you come back, especially from expeditions, when you're probably having to be Mr. Alpha, Mr. In Charge, to home, where that might not always be appropriate? I'm
definitely not in charge at home. It is really, really difficult, but I actually only started noticing it about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was really difficult to adjust. When you come back from a big trip where it's been physically and mentally and emotionally draining, taxing, may have been successful, may not, and you're in the bubble for that period of time, and you come home, there's decompression, same as there is when you come back from fighting a war, for example. And there's a decompression sort of moment in time where you feel empty, a bit undervalued, which is weird because you've just done an amazing thing, and then you're thinking about the next one, and you're not really processing what you've done.
You've still got to go to pick up nursery, and you've got to go to Tesco's.
And you've got to go and do all the normal things, and you're cranky, and you're knackered, and you're happy to be home. And but actually, I understand that now. So like I have a few circuit breakers when I come home. One of them sounds really weird, but it's hoovering. I come home and I unpack my bag straight away. Bags, I might have 50 bags. They're all unpacked and all the tech kit gets put away. And then I come home and or if I have done that at home, then I hoover the house from top to bottom. I clean it, even though my wife has probably had it. You know, she's probably done it all for me.
And you've probably done it wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, it's an old Marines thing. But actually, I now recognise that as my like circuit breaker. It's like, right, I'm psychologically switching off the expedition. I'm like, I'm back now. And when I hoover, I'm like, this is domestic Aldo. This is the guy who's a dad, a husband. You know, I've got normal things to do. And I find it really effective now. Now that I understand that and know that, and I can see post-expedition blues coming, then I can deal with it.
I think that's a really, really good tip, actually. I think a lot of people don't talk about that. They talk about the grandstanding and the amazing finish line feels or whatever it might be, but it's a real low, and that can come at a smaller level. So if someone's training for an event, however long, however hard, like coming back, actually having a little circuit breaker. So maybe get the hoover out, guys. That's the way to do it. Aldo, I could literally talk to you for about 7 days, but I'd probably get in trouble if I do that. Thank you so much for giving us your time and coming on this pod show. If people want to follow you, where do they go to?
Yep, I'm Aldo Kane at Aldo Kane, ALDOKANE on all the socials.
Amazing. You are an absolute legend. It's been a pleasure to have you on here. This has been the big interview. On to the next section.
If your bucket list of adventures is starting to stack up, then this excursion segment might just be for you.
I'm here chatting with Keith from the Bucket List Company today, and we're going to be chatting about some of the adventures they have on offer. So thanks for coming on, Keith.
Pleasure.
Could you say, what is the Bucket List Company?
So we are a small group adventure travel. We've got 47 different destinations around the world where we visit. Everything from hot air ballooning in Cappadocia to Everest Base Camp to Machu Picchu to Kilimanjaro.
Okay, amazing. And how do you decide what is worthy of the bucket list title for an adventure?
So we primarily started out as a trekking company, so we were doing trekking trips around the world. So it was the iconic Everest Base Camp, Machu Picchu, Kilimanjaro, Mount Toubkal, Great Wall of China trek. We were just looking at what those iconic bucket list trekking trips would be, and that's where we started. And then interestingly, you start to meet your customers, and because we guide the trips as well, so one of us goes on the trips with them, you kind of build a real good relationship with the customers. And people say to you, what's on their bucket list? Yeah. And you kind of go, well, actually, do you know what? That's not too wild. That's not too wacky. There would be other people that would want to do that as well. And that's kind of how one of our customers who's done quite a lot of trips with us now, she came to me last year and she basically went, I want to go gorilla trekking for my birthday. And if you don't organise the trip, I'm just going to book it with another company. Yeah. So it was like, right, well, we need to organise a gorilla trekking trip to Uganda. So we literally launched it. And then we've sold 2 trips out now because, it is a popular thing to do. But, we just look at what people want to do. You build those relationships with your customers and also as well, what's on my bucket list. If I can get people to come along and join me and we'll go and do something cool that I want to do is I want to swim. So this year we're off to the Maldives. I want to scuba dive with whale sharks, so let's go and do it. And then a load of other people booked to come as well.
Pretty cool job.
Yeah, I mean, people do say that. People do say I have the best job in the world, and I think for part of the year I probably do, but there are
a lot behind the scenes.
There's a lot of behind the scenes and stuff, but yeah, I mean, guiding the trips, going on the trips, our groups are all brilliant. We call them our bucket listers. It's our community that we have, and they're super cool people who want to do cool stuff, and everyone's really like-minded. So, and that's the thing that I find with group trips is people always say, do you not get people on the trips that you don't want to be there? And it's well, generally, if you're going to Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro, you're the same sort of people. You've got the same like-mindedness to go and do that trip. So you generally get all people that are the same and just want a good time and enjoy themselves.
I think there is I've done a few, I did Everest Base Camp, I've done a few trips like that. And there is something about the way you kind of do sort of bond with the people. I guess because you're just putting in a real shift in terms of hours with how much time you spend with those new friends. They It's an amazing experience to share with other people, I think.
And we looked at our statistics a while ago, and 75% of people have booked their first trip with us as a solo traveller. And I think there are more people out there now who kind of like they want to go and do stuff, and maybe like their group of friends, it's like, I want to go and do Everest Base Camp, but the rest of the friends are going like, there's no way I'd go and do that. And they're like, well, who am I going to do it with then? And that's where group travel really does come in. But what we have found is that like when they book their next trip, they book it with people that they've met on the trip that they were on. Like they do form that real bond with people, and it's just amazing and lovely to see. And it's been lovely to see at the show today. Like we're at the end of Saturday, and so many of our customers have come to the show.
Oh, really?
And then like I ran a trip to Nepal in November, and pretty much the majority of that trip have all turned up here today to meet back together again. People have come from
really
Wales, they've come from Oxford, they've come from all over, and they've kind of congregated on today to meet up again, which has been really nice.
Oh, that's so nice. Do you get a real mixture of people? Like what kind? Do you have a typical sort of demographic?
No, I mean like our average age is probably around about 40 is the average age on our trip. I mean, I've just come back from a trip to Iceland, and the youngest person on the trip was 24, the oldest person was 79.
Oh, so a real mix.
So a real mix. And yeah, I think that is that's the bit that I really enjoy about group travel, is having different people from different ages, from different backgrounds, all coming together into the group, because it just makes the group more interesting. Like if everyone was a 30-year-old man or a 30-year-old woman, it would kind of be like a certain demographic. But when you've got like everyone from all different walks of life, all different ages, it just gives like something to talk about and different to people.
Yeah, I think that is something I really love about, like, I guess doing adventure type things. I find you do meet people that you wouldn't normally meet in your like, I feel like I've got friends at like lots of different ages, backgrounds that you wouldn't meet normally, but you're like, we've been for a hike and actually we've got loads in common.
And age is just a number in that sense, isn't it? You both like walking, you both like trekking, you both like travel, you both like, it doesn't really matter on the age if you both like doing the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Right, I've got a tough question to end on. I'm sure you're not meant to have favourites, but what's the trip that you're most excited about that you do?
See,
have you got one standout special one?
Well, I get asked this all the time, and every trip for me is like different for a different reason. Like, you know, I love Machu Picchu. I love climbing Kilimanjaro. Like Everest Base Camp and the views are just amazing. But I think I don't want to have a favourite, but I think if I had, like, I did the trip to Easter Island, Chile and Easter Island last year, and I just love Easter Island. And I think if that was the one that I could only do one again, I think it would probably be to go back and do that one. It's a pretty special place. And the thing that I love about Easter Island is, like, if you go and sit in the pub and you chat to people, like, everyone knows someone that's done Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro. Like, if you say you've been to Easter Island, very few people know someone that's been to Easter Island. I think that's quite cool.
So it's a bit different.
It's a bit different,
Nice. And if people are kind of feeling inspired to have a look at your trips, where can they find Bucket List Company?
Yeah, so just go onto Google, type in the Bucket List Company. I've also got a podcast called the Bucket Lister Podcast, which is on all platforms, where we talk about all the trips in like detail. That comes out every Wednesday. We do an episode every Wednesday, and that's, you know, so either there, social media, type in the Bucket List Company. We're all over everywhere.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And if you're looking for an adventure, then definitely check out the Bucket List.
For the first advice section of the series, we're back with ThruDark before we head back for a little bit of chat with our hosts.
Welcome back to the advice section of the pod show, and I'm here with ThruDark, which have an amazing sort of message behind all of your branding and everything like that. I'd love it if you could tell me a little bit about some advice that you give your customers about overcoming adversity and everything in between.
Yeah, of course. So I guess that our mantra, endeavour through adversity, says a lot about the brand anyway. And I guess that when we came up with the mantra, it was important for us to get the message across that everybody goes through suffering in their own lives on a day-to-day basis, and it's being able to overcome those adversities on a day-to-day basis, you know, however big or small they may be. It's that's the key message, I think, and it does resonate with all of our customers. It's like everybody feels it, and it's kind of a community thing as well, where other people that are suffering or going through difficult situations, whether that's physically, even on an expedition, or, you know, emotionally with family situations or whatever else. So I think the key message that runs as a thread throughout everything that we do is endeavour through adversity. I think we've got some, like, most of our content actually is kind of, it's surrounded by that, and we try and tell powerful, experience-led stories that are all about the endeavour through adversity and how difficult it is for people to overcome it.
Yeah, that's a really strong message. I can see why it like resonates with such a broad, well, with everyone really.
Yeah.
Everyone definitely has their own challenges, big or small.
Yep.
Some of yours are absolutely massive, like jumping out of planes.
Yeah, but it's like, and
Military
I
stuff.
don't think we should like pale anything else into insignificance as well,
Yeah.
because I think it is important to be inclusive in that regard as well. And genuinely, it's like some of the small things that happen on a day-to-day basis, they're some of the most difficult things to deal with because of the
100%.
situation.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you everybody. That was an amazing episode and really great to have you all still with us. And a big thank you to our sponsors Yonda, who are giving away the Ultimate Swim Bundle. Don't forget to follow the notes in the show notes at the end of the episode. But before we leave you, I'm going to ask our fellow hosts to design their ultimate adventure. So, guys, if the three of us now went on an adventure, we pick up and we leave right now today, where would we go? Sanuka, I'm coming to you first.
I mean, it's endless, isn't it, really?
Yes.
I wouldn't mind going off. I really want to do Kilimanjaro, and I feel like we could help each other
I'm
out.
doing Kilimanjaro next year.
Are you?
Yes. We should all go together.
Let's
make. I mean, I can get you on there. We can make this happen.
Really? This is a planning session, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's so
Damn, I'm into it.
Well, with Birmingham Children's Hospital, I'm doing it as part of a thing for them. So
Amazing.
I mean, that will be exciting. So you've heard it here first.
Yeah.
Birmingham Children's Hospital, please give us a place. But if they don't, what would your other adventure be?
Another adventure would be, I want to go to Canada. Still haven't been to Canada yet.
Yes.
I want to go to those Vancouver Islands. I want to see all that fairy tale stuff going on over there. Lots of hiking, lakes.
It is just stunning up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never actually been, but I've seen it. It
Yeah.
looks amazing. What about you, Elise? Where would you take us?
Well, the thing that's springing into my eyes, I'm desperate to go back to New Zealand. I went on quite like a brief trip a few years ago, and so I'd love to go back. And my ideal, like, I love doing like a multi-day A to B adventure, but I'm gonna go fully into the fantasy realm because my thing that like I struggle with is I love running. I hate running with a heavy bag, but I like being self-sufficient camping. So in this fantasy, I don't feel my bag. Like it's a weightless bag.
Are we doing the Tia Ora Trail?
Yeah, but with this, like, somehow that someone's designed a bag that you don't feel any weight and it doesn't chafe your backpack.
Oh, we just carry your stuff. I
Amazing.
mean, it's your adventure and the three of us are going.
You're just my porters.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so I like that. Okay, so we've got some cool places to go. For me, I think I'd love to go to Iceland and run across it. Like, I went to Iceland with a family. Have you done it?
That is happening this summer. There's a whole bunch of people doing that.
Yes, so Danny Bent organises this one, doesn't he? Yeah. So
And Jamie and Raoul did that.
Yeah, two of our friends actually randomly ran across Ireland just for Iceland for fun. So yeah, beautiful country. So most of our adventures are based around going to really cool places. But if you had to do one in the UK and you had to do it today, what would you do?
So I really want to go on a road trip, camper van trip around Scotland.
Nice.
But I'm seriously worried about the midges. I've heard that it's a huge deal. I don't know.
So I've spent quite a bit of time in Scotland.
Yeah.
Obviously, I ran the whole coast of it, and then the past couple of summers, I've spent like quite a few weeks each time, like there in my van, like in this, and I've never had a major midge problem.
Really?
So I don't know if I'm just lucky, but I think I've been at all different times of the year.
People just making a big deal out of it.
It depends on the weather, I think. Like if it's hot, you're good, and if it's that like damp, warmish weather, but I've been really lucky, so I don't want to say there's no midges.
They are there. I think it's if you're near to standing water. So I've spent a lot of time in Scotland and agree with you. Most times I've been absolutely fine. I ran the West Highland Way last year and it was midgie free. But if you are by standing water and you are at the wrong time, then it's pretty rough and ropey. But
I wouldn't let it put you off.
No, okay, cool.
Scotland is otherworldly beautiful.
Yeah.
And 100% agree.
It's so accessible. Don't even have to do I was going to say so accessible. You don't have to jump on a plane. We kind of do from where I am.
you can get a train straight to Glen Nevis, can't you? So that's kind of a decent place to start. So Elise, where would you go in the UK? You've seen the UK, so where should people go?
Yeah, well, I'd say my like coastal geography is great. Inland, there's still so much to explore. But I was living in the Lake District, but I've been really busy and I haven't been back much this year. So we're going to the lakes just because I miss it.
Yes, love the lakes. Okay, so you can holiday in exotic places or adventure in exotic places. You can also do it right here in the UK. So thank you very much for sticking with us. This has been the adventure episode. Stick with us for the next episode, which will come out in 1 week, and that will be focused on water. A big thank you again to our sponsors Yonda, who will be giving away the Ultimate Swim Bundle. Follow their leads in the show notes, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the first National Outdoor Pod Show episode. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell us what you thought. Tune in next week when the theme is water. See you then.